Hi, my name is Sonia Amrita, and I want to talk to you today about awakening to divine abundance. For me, divine abundance is part of consciousness, part of the fabric of the universe. It is much like divine love. It's really, in many ways, part of divine love. And in this video, I'll focus on awakening to the immensity of divine abundance, and then what that means and feels like and looks like in your life, in embodiment. And then I'll talk about the beliefs or stories that you can release in order to more freely embrace divine abundance. And I'll start with a story about my own awakening to abundance. You know, I've been introduced to teachings about abundance in the like self-help and personal development space, but that's very different than kind of the immensity and purity of divine abundance. But I didn't ever really hear my Buddhist and non-dual teachers talk about abundance in their teachings. So it was several years after I'd awakened to emptiness and oneness and divine love, when one night, in the middle of the night, I remember I woke up and I was actually agitated. And as I sat and sat and sat, I opened up my awareness, and suddenly I was able to see, I was able to feel and witness this presence in the universe, this immense presence and facet of consciousness that is abundance. And as I sat with it that night, and many times since, I saw how abundance is in its boundlessness, just like how divine love is boundless. It is so far beyond our mind's constructs and concepts of what abundance should look like or does look like in our lives. I noticed how it doesn't move in response to the ego will. It really moves for the sake of itself. And really, in some ways, it's our job to get out of the way and allow abundance to move through us. I've seen how the ego mind really tries to wrestle with this immense thing of abundance. It tries to control it. It tries to force it down different channels. It tries to resist it or reject it, often out of a feeling of the ego not being worthy or deserving of abundance and love. But in so many ways, one of the things I've learned is that abundance is so not about the small self, the small s self, and yet at the same time, it is innate to us. It is innate to your true nature. It is innate to your true self. And there's a big message here, which is that you, wherever you are in your life, you are free to embrace divine abundance. It is your birthright. It is part of consciousness, so it is a part of you. And if you are called to awaken to divine abundance, then it is time for you to see it, accept it, embrace it, and truly, humbly receive it. And how abundance looks in your life is going to vary enormously from one person to another. Truly, it can look like anything because abundance flows through so many different channels. Just even thinking about it in terms of concepts of abundance that we have, mostly around money or things, when somebody's really in divine abundance, it might look like being a monk and taking a vow of poverty and yet living in this spirit of abundance. I've met people like that. It's beautiful. I've also met people who make millions of dollars or have inherited millions, but live in such love and truth and integrity that they are also living in divine abundance and embodying divine abundance. There is no one right way. There is only the way that is going to be most true and aligned in integrity and love for you. Again, abundance moves through you. When we stop wrestling with it, it is allowed to move in your life. It's allowed to create and flow. And it can feel like such harmony, truly. And doesn't that feel like a relief? So, after hearing all this, I can understand if you're thinking to yourself, okay, that's great, but what about the hurts? What about the hurts and the wounds, or the shame, or the fear, or the anxiety around abundance? And especially money, time, and energy, because I've learned that time and energy are also part of our associations with abundance. And one of the ways that I think about all these stories and conditioning around abundance is that they're like layers of dust on top of the truth of abundance. And even though the stories and the conditioning feel so heavy and it feels like weight, it's really not. They're just stories. It's just dust on top of abundance. And each person, I've learned, has a unique constellation of dust on top of the truth of abundance. But inevitably, over many years of working with my students and my clients, I've noticed some common themes. So I'll share just a few themes with you now, and you can see if any of these resonate for you, if any of these are some of the layers of dust that you have on top of your truth of abundance. I think that probably one of the most common things I see in spiritual communities in general is a judgment against money, is the association of money as corrupt or part of ego greed, rather than seeing money as a neutral substance, really a currency of exchange, just one of the many ways that abundance flows through our lives. Another story, as I mentioned earlier, is feeling unworthy or not deserving of abundance, feeling anxiety that there's not enough money, time, or energy, feeling a sense of shame about maybe either how you've handled money in the past or how your family's handled money, feeling like you have to work hard for money. I've had to really work through that one myself. Denial about money is also a very common one. Not wanting to deal with money at all, just trying to avoid it. Probably the most ubiquitous story that I see, especially, well, everywhere, but especially in spiritual communities, is feeling powerless around money, time, and energy. And whatever the story is for you, and no matter how deep and how heavy it feels to you, remember, if this is like dust, if it's really just an illusion, then when you are committed and devoted to seeing the truth of abundance, the dust can be as easy to clear as just brushing it away. Or maybe taking a vacuum and sucking it up, or letting the wind of your breath blow it out of your body. You know, some of these stories may have taught you something. They might have kept you alive in your childhood, helped you survive in some way, and you can feel grateful for them, even as you are releasing them and surrendering them so that you can embrace a greater purity of truth. You may need a healing around some of these stories, or a ritual of surrender around some of these stories. But whatever the case may be, I want you to know that you are not bound by your stories of money. You are not bound by your past. Your past does not destine you, does not bind you to keep repeating those experiences in your present or future. And you are not bound to your emotions about abundance. Those emotions are just like clouds in the sky, and you do not have to hang on to them in any way. If this is resonating for you, I hope that you will take this video and really receive the possibilities of abundance in your life and begin to explore what this could feel like and look like for you. This video is just the beginning of our discussion and dialogue and exploration of abundance together. And I'll have a lot more videos. I've got 2 more videos coming up for you, some free articles, teachings, classes, recordings, and I hope you'll take advantage of all of them if they call to you. Of course, please share this with other people. Click on the link below. And thank you so much for watching. Blessings for your awakening journey, and namaste.